the Odyssey as a bridge between ages. Imagine a time when gods walked among mortals, kingdoms rose and fell, and the very fabric of civilization was shifting. Now picture a man, clever, flawed, and relentless, who becomes the thread connecting two vastly different eras. That's the world of the Odyssey, a story as much about survival and identity as it is about an evolving humanity. But how does this ancient tale still resonate with us today? Let's dive in and find out. To truly understand the Odyssey, we need to step back in time, far beyond the poem itself, into the Bronze Age, a period marked by towering palaces, complex societies, and networks of trade that spanned the known world. This was the age of Mycenaean Greece, a civilization whose echoes can be heard in the walls of ancient citadels like Mycenae and Tiryns. These people thrived between the 15th and 12th centuries BCE, wielding power through their connection to larger Mediterranean trade networks. However, by 1200 BCE, this glittering world began to crumble. Whether it was invasions, natural disasters, or internal strife, the once mighty Mycenaeans fell. This collapse plunged Greece into what historians call the Greek Dark Ages, a period where literacy disappeared, monumental architecture ceased, and society splintered into smaller, isolated communities. But even in the darkness, stories survived. Oral tradition carried the exploits of heroes like Achilles and Odysseus across generations. These tales acted as a cultural lifeline, preserving the values, fears, and aspirations of a people struggling to find their footing in a fractured world. The Odyssey, likely composed in the 8th century BCE by a bard we know as Homer, emerged from this tumultuous transition. By then, Greece had begun to rebuild itself, ushering in the Iron Age, a period defined by new forms of governance, economy, and identity. One of the most compelling aspects of the Odyssey is how it straddles two worlds. On one hand, it's steeped in the grandeur of the Bronze Age, with its larger-than-life heroes, divine interventions, and exotic settings. On the other hand, it reflects the emerging realities of the Iron Age, pragmatic, localized, and, above all, human. Take Odysseus himself. He's not a hero in the mold of Achilles, who embodies brute strength and martial glory. Odysseus is cunning, adaptable, and deeply flawed. These qualities make him uniquely suited to the Iron Age, where survival often depended on wit rather than might. For example, consider his encounter with Polyphemus the Cyclops. The brute force of the Bronze Age, a towering, monstrous figure, is defeated not by strength but by guile. Odysseus tricks Polyphemus with the clever ruse of naming himself nobody, allowing him to escape the Cyclops' cave unscathed. This moment isn't just a triumph of intellect. It's a symbolic victory of a new kind of heroism over the old. And yet, Odysseus isn't without his flaws. His arrogance in revealing his name to Polyphemus invites Poseidon's wrath, prolonging his journey. This duality, resourceful yet reckless, makes Odysseus a bridge between the idealized heroes of the past and the nuanced characters that would come to define later Greek literature. Beyond its characters, the Odyssey serves as a mirror for a society in flux. By the time Homer was composing his epic, Greece was no longer a land of kings ruling over vast territories. Instead, it was a patchwork of city-states, each with its own identity and governance. The poem reflects this shift in subtle but profound ways. Take the concept of xenia or guest friendship, which permeates the Odyssey. In the Bronze Age, xenia was a practical necessity. Trade routes stretched across the Mediterranean, and hospitality was a means of ensuring mutual survival in an interconnected world. By the Iron Age, however, xenia had evolved into a moral ideal, a reflection of a society that valued order and reciprocity in an increasingly decentralized world. This evolution is evident in Odysseus's interactions with characters like Alcinous, the Phaeacian king, who embodies the ideal host. Contrast this with the suitors in Ithaca, who violate xenia by consuming Odysseus's resources without offering anything in return. Their punishment isn't just a personal vendetta. It's a reassertion of the societal values that held Greek communities together. So, what does all of this mean for us today? Why should we care about a poem composed nearly 3 millennia ago? The answer lies in the Odyssey's universality. At its core, this is a story about identity, resilience, and the search for belonging, themes that transcend time and culture. In many ways, Odysseus's journey mirrors the human condition. We all face challenges that test our character. We all navigate a world that seems to change faster than we can adapt. And, like Odysseus, we all seek a place where we truly belong. On a broader level, the Odyssey offers a lens through which to view societal transformation. Just as the Greeks used Odysseus' story to make sense of their transition from the Bronze Age to the Iron Age, we can use it to reflect on our own era of rapid technological and cultural change. What values will we carry forward? What will we leave behind? And what kind of heroes will we need to navigate the challenges ahead? Odysseus, hero, trickster, or both? A hero with unparalleled cunning. A man driven by love, haunted by pride, and shaped by war. But is Odysseus truly a hero? Or is he something more ambiguous? A figure who blurs the line between valor and manipulation? In this episode, we'll uncover the layers of Odysseus, dissect his choices, and explore how his character reflects the complexities of the human condition. Odysseus, king of Ithaca, is not your typical hero. Unlike Achilles, who embodies the archetype of the warrior hero, or Hector, who is a paragon of familial and civic duty, Odysseus defies categorization. He is a warrior, yes, but also a thinker, a schemer, and at times a deceiver. His defining trait isn't strength or honor. It's métis, a Greek word meaning cunning intelligence. This quality makes Odysseus a hero for an uncertain age. In the chaotic world of the Iron Age, survival often depended on wits rather than brute force. Odysseus embodies this shift, demonstrating time and again that brains can triumph over brawn. Take the Trojan horse, perhaps his most famous exploit. This stratagem was not only a military triumph but also a psychological one. By convincing the Trojans to bring a supposed gift inside their walls, Odysseus turned their hubris against them. It's a moment of brilliance, but also one of moral ambiguity. After all, the plan relied on deceit and led to the slaughter of innocents. While Odysseus is often celebrated for his exploits abroad, his journey is ultimately driven by a deeply personal motive: the desire to return home. Ithaca, his rocky island kingdom, represents more than just a place. It symbolizes stability, identity, and the life he left behind. His wife, Penelope, and his son, Telemachus, are the anchors that keep him striving through storms, monsters, and temptations. But Odysseus's role as a husband and father is far from straightforward. His 20-year absence raises questions about his priorities. Was his desire to explore, conquer, and outwit enemies stronger than his commitment to his family? His prolonged stay with Calypso, the nymph who holds him captive for 7 years, complicates his image as a devoted husband. Although Odysseus claims he longed for Penelope every day, his actions suggest a man torn between duty and indulgence. From a historical perspective, this tension reflects the values and expectations of ancient Greek society. The concept of oikos, or household, was central to a man's identity. For Odysseus, reclaiming his home is not just a personal mission, it's a societal obligation. His eventual return and the violent reclamation of his throne are acts of restoration, reasserting the patriarchal order that underpinned Greek culture. What makes Odysseus enduringly fascinating is not his heroism but his humanity. Unlike the larger-than-life figures of myth, Odysseus is deeply flawed. He is prideful, deceitful, and at times shockingly cruel. His decision to reveal his name to Polyphemus, for instance, is a moment of hubris that brings disaster upon his crew. Similarly, his harsh punishment of the disloyal maids in Ithaca raises ethical questions that modern audiences cannot ignore. Yet, these flaws are precisely what make Odysseus relatable. He is not an idealized figure but a man grappling with the same contradictions and weaknesses that define all of us. His struggles remind us that heroism is not about perfection, it's about perseverance. From a psychological perspective, Odysseus's journey can be seen as an allegory for the human psyche. His encounters with mythical creatures, Circe, the Sirens, Scylla, and Charybdis, mirror the internal battles we all face. Circe's island, where men are transformed into beasts, symbolizes the danger of succumbing to base instincts. The sirens, with their irresistible song, represent the allure of distractions that can derail us from our goals. Each trial forces Odysseus to confront a different aspect of himself, emerging stronger and wiser. To fully understand Odysseus, we must examine him through the lens of ancient Greek values. The Greeks celebrated arete, excellence in all things, but they also recognized the perils of excess. Odysseus embodies both. His métis is his greatest strength, but it's also his greatest weakness, leading him into situations where his cleverness becomes arrogance. The Greek concept of hubris, or excessive pride, is central to Odysseus's character arc. His journey can be read as a cautionary tale about the dangers of overstepping human limits. Yet, unlike tragic figures such as Oedipus, Odysseus is ultimately redeemed. His survival and eventual homecoming suggest that while humans are fallible, they are also resilient. This duality, fallibility and resilience, resonates across cultures and eras. In modern terms, we might see Odysseus as a flawed protagonist, a trope that dominates contemporary storytelling. Characters like Tony Stark or Walter White owe a debt to figures like Odysseus, who showed that complexity and contradiction make for compelling heroes. So, is Odysseus a hero or a trickster? The answer, of course, is both. His heroism lies not in his perfection but in his adaptability, his ability to navigate an unpredictable world with resourcefulness and tenacity. At the same time, his penchant for deceit challenges traditional notions of morality, forcing us to question what it truly means to be heroic. From a historical perspective, Odysseus's ambiguity reflects the transitional period in which his story was born. The shift from the Bronze Age to the Iron Age brought with it new challenges, values, and uncertainties. Odysseus, with his blend of old-world heroics and new-world pragmatism, captures this tension perfectly. But perhaps the most remarkable thing about Odysseus is his enduring relevance. Whether we see him as a symbol of resilience, a cautionary tale about hubris, or a mirror for our own complexities, he continues to speak to us across the ages. And that, ultimately, is the mark of a true hero. The trials and transformations of Odysseus. What defines a man? Is it his triumphs, his failures, or how he learns and grows from the obstacles placed in his path? For Odysseus, each trial on his journey home was not just a test of survival, but a lesson in the art of being human. Today, we'll unravel the deeper meaning behind these trials and what they reveal about life, leadership, and legacy. Odysseus's encounter with Polyphemus, the one-eyed Cyclops, is one of the most iconic episodes in his journey. On the surface, it's a tale of wits versus brute strength. Trapped in the Cyclops' cave, Odysseus devises a cunning plan to blind the monster and escape, famously introducing himself as nobody to outwit his foe. But beyond the drama lies a rich layer of symbolism. The Cyclops represents a primal, uncivilized force, a being that lives outside the bounds of Greek societal norms. Polyphemus's isolation and lack of communal values starkly contrast with Odysseus, who embodies the Greek ideals of cleverness and cooperation. From a historical perspective, this episode can be interpreted as a reflection of early Greek encounters with the other. During the Greek colonization period, they often clashed with foreign cultures that seemed strange or barbaric. The Cyclops, then, serves as a metaphor for the unknown and the challenges of confronting it. Yet, Odysseus's victory is bittersweet. His hubris, shouting his name as he sails away, invites Poseidon's wrath, setting the stage for further suffering. This act of pride reminds us that even the cleverest among us are vulnerable to the pitfalls of ego. Odysseus's time with Circe, the enchantress who turns men into swine, is more than just a fantastical diversion. It's a meditation on the dangers of succumbing to one's baser instincts. Circe's magic strips Odysseus's men of their humanity, reducing them to animals driven by instinct. It takes Odysseus's resolve and the guidance of Hermes to restore their human form. But why does Odysseus stay with Circe for a year? Is it mere indulgence? Or does this period represent something deeper? Some scholars argue that Circe's island symbolizes a kind of liminal space, a pause in the hero's journey where he reflects and regroups. In a way, this interlude mirrors the human need for moments of rest and introspection amid life's challenges. Similarly, the episode with the sirens offers a profound commentary on temptation. The sirens' song, promising knowledge and glory, is irresistible. Yet, Odysseus's solution, having himself tied to the mast while his crew plugs their ears, illustrates the importance of self-awareness and discipline. He knows his weaknesses and takes proactive steps to mitigate them, a lesson as relevant today as it was in ancient times. The narrow strait between Scylla and Charybdis presents Odysseus with one of his most harrowing dilemmas. On one side, a six-headed monster waits to snatch his men. On the other, a deadly whirlpool threatens to swallow his ship whole. There is no ideal solution, only the least devastating one. This episode is a masterclass in leadership under pressure. Odysseus chooses to sail closer to Scylla, sacrificing a few men to save the rest of the crew. It's a heart-wrenching decision, but one rooted in pragmatism. Leaders often face such no-win scenarios, where every choice carries a cost. Odysseus's ability to make the hard call demonstrates his growth and resilience. Historically, this trial can be seen as an allegory for navigating the treacherous waters of life. The Greeks, seafaring people, would have understood the literal and metaphorical perils of such straits. Odysseus's journey reflects their own struggles with uncertainty and risk. Odysseus's descent into the underworld marks a turning point in his journey. Here, he seeks guidance from the prophet Tiresias, but the experience offers more than just practical advice. Encountering the shades of the dead, including his fallen comrades and his mother, forces Odysseus to confront the fragility of life and the weight of his choices. This episode is rich with existential themes. By speaking with Achilles, who laments the emptiness of glory and death, Odysseus gains a new perspective on what truly matters. The underworld is not just a place of despair, it's a crucible for growth. It's a reminder that understanding our mortality can inspire us to live with greater purpose and compassion. Despite Tiresias's warnings, Odysseus's crew succumbs to temptation and slaughters the sacred cattle of Helios. This act of defiance leads to their destruction, leaving Odysseus as the sole survivor. The moral here is clear. Discipline and respect for divine law are essential for survival. But there's another layer to this story. Odysseus's inability to prevent his men from giving in highlights the limits of leadership. Even the most capable leaders cannot always control their followers' actions, especially when faced with exhaustion and despair. This episode underscores the importance of collective responsibility and the consequences of individual choices. Stranded on Calypso's island, Odysseus faces his final trial, the temptation of comfort. The nymph offers him immortality and a life of ease, but Odysseus yearns for Ithaca. His choice to leave reflects his unwavering commitment to his identity and his values. Calypso's island represents a universal challenge, the temptation to settle for less than we're capable of achieving. It's a reminder that true fulfillment often requires sacrifice and perseverance. Each trial faced by Odysseus is more than just an obstacle. It's a stepping stone in his transformation. From the Cyclops to Calypso, every encounter tests his intelligence, resilience, and humanity. These experiences shape him into a leader worthy of Ithaca, a husband worthy of Penelope, and a man worthy of the title hero. Yet, Odysseus's journey is not just his own. It's a reflection of the human condition, with all its struggles, triumphs, and complexities. His story teaches us that heroism lies not in being perfect, but in navigating life's challenges with courage and ingenuity. The return to Ithaca, a hero reclaims his legacy. What happens when the journey ends, but the challenges persist? For Odysseus, returning to Ithaca was not the conclusion of his story, but the beginning of a new battle. Home was no longer the place he had left, and the man who returned was no longer the one who had departed. Join us as we unravel the final chapter of Odysseus's Odyssey, a tale of love, vengeance, and the enduring struggle to reclaim one's rightful place. Odysseus's return to Ithaca begins not with fanfare, but with caution. Disguised as a beggar with Athena's help, he assesses the situation before revealing himself. This act of subterfuge might seem unheroic to some, but it demonstrates a key aspect of Odysseus's character: strategic patience. He knows that charging into the palace without understanding the dynamics could lead to his demise. This choice highlights a profound truth about leadership and life. Sometimes, humility is the strongest weapon. By observing the suitors and reconnecting with loyal allies like Eumaeus, the swineherd, and his son Telemachus, Odysseus lays the groundwork for his eventual triumph. From a historical perspective, this tactic reflects the Greek ideal of métis, or cunning intelligence. It also resonates with real-world scenarios where leaders must gather information and build alliances before acting decisively. Odysseus's reunion with Telemachus is not just a personal moment. It's a symbolic passing of the torch. Telemachus, who has grown from an uncertain boy into a capable young man during his father's absence, represents the continuity of Odysseus's legacy. Their partnership in planning the overthrow of the suitors underscores the importance of intergenerational cooperation. This dynamic can be interpreted as a reflection of the societal transition from one generation to the next. In Homeric Greece, the values and responsibilities of the father were often passed to the son, ensuring the stability of the oikos or household. By working together, Odysseus and Telemachus embody the ideal of familial unity in the face of external threats. While Odysseus faces external challenges, Penelope's trials are equally significant. For 20 years, she has fended off the suitors, maintaining her loyalty to Odysseus while managing the household. Her cleverness rivals her husband's. The ruse of weaving and unweaving the shroud for Laertes is a testament to her intelligence and resolve. When Odysseus finally reveals himself, Penelope doesn't immediately embrace him. Instead, she tests him by asking about their bed, a piece of furniture crafted by Odysseus himself and immovable because it is rooted to a living tree. This moment is more than a clever trick. It's a profound metaphor for their relationship. Their love, like the bed, is deeply rooted, unshaken by time or adversity. Historically, Penelope's steadfastness can be seen as an ideal of wifely virtue in Greek culture. Yet, her agency and resourcefulness also challenge traditional gender roles, making her one of the most compelling figures in Homeric literature. The climactic moment of Odysseus's return is the slaughter of the suitors. With Telemachus, Eumaeus, and a handful of loyal servants, Odysseus executes a carefully orchestrated plan to reclaim his throne. The violence is swift and brutal, raising questions about its moral implications. Was this act a necessary restoration of order, or an excessive display of vengeance? From a modern perspective, it's easy to view Odysseus's actions as harsh. However, within the context of Homeric society, his actions align with the principle of dike, or justice. The suitors had not only squandered his wealth but also violated the sacred laws of hospitality, a cornerstone of Greek culture. This episode also underscores the fragility of social order in ancient Greece. In a world without centralized law enforcement, personal retribution was often the only means of upholding justice. Odysseus's actions, while severe, can be seen as a necessary step to restore balance and reaffirm his authority. The story doesn't end with the slaughter. Odysseus must still navigate the delicate process of rebuilding his kingdom. The families of the slain suitors demand retribution, threatening to plunge Ithaca into civil war. Once again, Athena intervenes, urging peace and reconciliation. This resolution highlights an important lesson. Even after victory, true leadership requires healing and compromise. Odysseus's ability to restore harmony reflects his growth as a leader who understands that lasting success depends on unity, not division. As Odysseus settles into his role as king, his journey comes full circle. But his legacy extends far beyond Ithaca. In many ways, Odysseus embodies the archetype of the flawed hero, resourceful yet prideful, courageous yet vulnerable. His story resonates because it mirrors the complexities of the human experience. From a historical standpoint, the Odyssey reflects the values and challenges of Homeric Greece. The emphasis on cunning, loyalty, and perseverance speaks to a society navigating the transition from tribal to more structured forms of governance. Odysseus's journey can be seen as a metaphor for this broader cultural evolution. Odysseus's Odyssey is not just a tale of adventure. It's a timeless exploration of what it means to be human. His trials remind us that life is a journey marked by challenges, growth, and transformation. His return to Ithaca is a testament to the enduring power of love, resilience, and the human spirit. As we conclude this epic journey, one question remains. What can we learn from Odysseus to navigate our own challenges and reclaim our own Ithacas? His story invites us to reflect on our values, our choices, and the legacies we wish to leave behind. Odysseus's story may have ended, but the questions it raises continue to resonate. Join us next time as we delve into another legendary tale from the ancient world, one that challenges our understanding of heroism, morality, and the enduring quest for meaning.